Hi everybody, it's Amy Lane. Welcome back to part 2 of the Chronicles of a Paranormal Childhood. Welcome back to part 2 of Chronicles of a Paranormal Childhood. I'm Amy Lane, the Literate Yogi, and I have been talking or started to talk to you a little bit about my experience as a child living in a home, sharing a home with a spirit. I guess you could say that. So in part 1, I just sort of unfolded with you how things started happening. And it was a very slow, very subtle start to this energy sort of like building up, I guess, a little bit. I was seeing things in my peripheral vision, things were moving, and I was hearing my name being called. And all during that time, I was questioning myself, questioning whether I was really hearing this, if I was really seeing this, if I was really feeling, this. So part 2 is where things really start to intensify. So when I say child, I would say I was preteen by this time. And I was still experiencing these things, but, everything is a frequency. Everything in the universe has a frequency. And we as humans we're like tuning forks. We can pick up on certain frequencies. We know when someone is sad, like emotions are frequencies. Light is a frequency, music is a frequency, all of these things are frequencies. And so, like I said, our body picks these things up. So I was able to notice when the spirit would come into a room, and the feeling would be, I could physically feel it come into the room. I could feel where it was, and I could feel it like inside. It would make me feel nervous. I'd get nervous, and I'm nervous because I don't understand it. I don't know what it is, and I know that it's not normal, and I know that I can't tell anybody. So that would happen, and it was most frequently when I was alone, and it would make it so that I would need to get up and like leave the room wherever I was. So if it was the back den, or if it was my bedroom, something like that, it just made me feel uncomfortable, and I didn't feel like it was threatening. I just felt I felt nervous. I felt like I was like on the verge of something. So one of the things that the being would do is that it would come into my room at night. So this is what would happen. So every single night when I would go to bed, and I'd get in bed and I would turn my light off, I could feel it come into the room. So again, it's this change in the frequency of the room, and then the temperature of the room would drop considerably. And I would, kind of like get underneath the covers. I'd get underneath the covers because I'm scared. I'd get underneath the covers, and I would just put enough of my like face so that I can, like my nose down to my chin, so that I could breathe. And I could feel it. It's cold in the room. And then just as easily as it drifted into the room and got the room cold, it would leave again, and then the room temperature would then go back to normal. So not only am I feeling like I'm feeling the temperature change, but I'm feeling this actual being enter the room and then leave the room. And I mean, I knew what this was. I knew what this was, but at the same time, I was a pretty smart kid and very intuitive. And so I knew that like, well, I've got to figure out like what this is. You know, I live in an old home. You know, the house was over 100 years old. You know, like who the heck knows? Maybe it's, you know, a draft in the room. You know, old windows, whatever. But it really didn't feel that way because the way it entered my room was literally through my doorway, which is not near a window. It's actually on the inside of the house. And there were no windows there. So, and just the way it dropped and the way that it was like a pocket. It would come in like as a pocket and then leave. If that even makes sense. I don't even know if that makes sense. So then it changed and it would come into the room and it would be cold and it would bring a scent with it. And the scent was the scent of roses. So this was significant to me because when my mother died and was laid out in the funeral home, there was a bed of roses over her casket. And so the smell that would come into the room was this very same smell. So I was thinking, I mean, even as a young kid, I'm trying to figure this out, Okay, we don't have any roses on our property. There's nothing underneath my window that smells like I don't have like any, there aren't any shrubs or anything like that. No flowering shrubs. So it's not that. And it was happening. I mean, this happened every single night for years, whether it was winter when the windows were closed or summer when the windows were open. It was every single night. So I'm also thinking, well, maybe I'm having like this, like something is happening where my memory is being triggered. And sometimes, you know, your sense of smell is you know, can be triggered. So I really didn't feel like it was that because it was never any other time during the day. It was never any other time in any other room. It was always the same time that my room would get chilled and then it would just leave. It would just like go away just at the very same time that the room would get cold. So as much as I tried to explain it away in my mind, in my brain, in my logical sense, the other side of me, my intuitive side, said, no, Amy, you know what this is. So here's kind of like the scary part for me. It was what was really, really scary for me. And I had forgotten about this until I really started thinking about this recently. And my heart broke for myself when I thought about this. But so every single night after this would happen, I would literally like lay in my bed and pray. So my family was Roman Catholic, but we never went to church. And I was not baptized. So I thought that I was going to be possessed or I was going to be overtaken by demons or, you know, the devil dude himself. And so I would lay in bed and I would pray and I would say, I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the power of Christ. I believe in the power of Christ. I believe in Jesus Christ, like over and over and over until I would fall asleep. And I did this every single night until I moved out of that house finally moved out of the house in my 20s. And I just think to myself, oh my gosh, that poor child. I went to bed every single night praying to God and praying to Jesus and praying to anybody who would hear me that I would not be overtaken. I would not be possessed by the dark side. And that's a pretty scary thing for a child to go through. So things did start even escalating even more after this. I was still seeing it. It's coming into my room at night. It's never touching me. It's never doing anything like that. But it's there, and I'm picking up on it. So that's part 2. Stay tuned for part 3. And enjoy this video, and let me know in the comments if you experienced or have experienced any of these things in your childhood and how it made you feel. So thank you for watching, and I will talk with you soon.